We are back, the ABJ Podcast, for episode 10. Very excited about this. My first double-digit milestone, and I couldn't have been happier to have the guest I have tonight, which I will bring in one moment. But first, we want to get the housekeeping stuff down. If you want to follow us on all social media, as well as my guest, check out the links below for everything. This is the first time I've been fighting this for a while. I was going to be exclusive to YouTube, but I'm going to be doing the Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter all at the same time. I'm hoping that my camera's working fine. I'm gonna try something real quick. I hope that fixed it for my guests. We're having some technical issues. But anyway, yes. So if you guys want, please head over to the Facebook side. We are a few subscribers away from 350. I hope we hit that very soon. 400 by the end of the year is a goal. If you can, also, my links below. We have two people in the independent scene who are having some issues. They just had an injury last week. Adina Steele unfortunately broke her collarbone, had to go in and get it fixed. Has a metal plate in her shoulder. That's going to be putting her on the sidelines for a while, as well as Philly Mike, who just had his ACL, MCL, his meniscus. His knee was completely tore up. So if you guys can help those independent talent who can use the help right now, they have subscription services, they have merchandise, 8x10s, anything you want. The links are below to support them as well. The independent scene is a bunch of really, really talented people, from production to referees to managers to talent to everybody, who work really, really hard. And when an injury happens, it not only a setback in their career and their dreams, but it's also a setback in their personal lives and their bills and their jobs. So if you can help out, that would be great. Links below. It is the time of holidays and stuff like that, so anything would be very helpful. Without further ado, let's bring in my guest, and I hope she can hear and see me.
I can.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we're having this weird thing where I have to start and stop my camera for her to hear and see me. So we're making do.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. Let the people know who you are.
Hi, I'm Ref Gina. So I guess does that answer your question? We did one question already.
Good job. Nailed it. We are smooth sailing for here.
I'm really bad at those. Like, tell us about yourself, and I'm like,
yes. I hope to lean you in a little better here, but so Ref Gina, you are someone I will say I adore. I love your work. I think everything you do as a referee is fantastic. Thanks. I don't know why you're not on TV more for us. I hope that changes in 2023. I got to work with you a lot at Camp Leapfrog. I still say the 3 referee stable that came out of there is my hands down favorite referee group of all time, with you, Adam Gall, and Bankos, who we need back on the scene. Bankos, if you're watching or listening, I miss you and love you. I just want to give him real quick roses. So I was looking to support everybody, and I don't think you have merchandise, which we need to change, because I love having referee merchandise. I own a lot of it. Like, I have Bryce, I have Aubrey. I like to support my refs, And I said to Bankos, I said, how can I get a T-shirt of you? And he goes, I hate my T-shirt. It's a Fallout. I don't like it. He goes, if you want to buy a T-shirt with me on it to support me, he says, go buy Chris Statlander's T-shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees, because it's me raising her hand and she's all bloody because she just won the championship in the cage match. So his way to support him was to buy somebody else's merch.
Okay, I got to look that up, because I didn't know that he was I'm sure like that.
Yeah, that was okay. That's what he told me to do to support him, was to go buy somebody else's T-shirt
and give somebody else money.
Yes, which shows you how amazing he is. Yeah. So let's get into it. You have trained out of a very prestigious place.
Test of Strength in East Hartford.
Yes. Yeah.
It is prestigious. I think that it definitely is a big staple in the Northeast area, because it's a Kowalski lineage school. And if you are from Massachusetts or from Connecticut, if you've been trained by Killer Kowalski in the past, like, you've pretty much exceeded all types of tiers. So Slick Wagner Brown is my trainer. Over time, I did accumulate other trainers, but yep, he was the first person I started with.
Now, getting into wrestling school, did you know right from the jump that you were going to be a referee, or did you want to be a worker? What was your process?
Oh, God. So I basically used to be this annoying fan that would go to all these indie shows. And someone told me that, they actually do these student shows out of the school in East Hartford, and that was way before that they were doing like road shows.
Hmm.
So I was just like, okay, cool. I'll go ahead and check it out. And he asked me, hey, do you want to try out a free class? I think you look like you're in shape. You have like a good look for wrestling. And I said, sure. So I showed up and I absolutely hated it. I thought that wrestling training is always the worst thing ever. I still don't like it, even though I'll do it every now and then. Bumps suck. I hated them. Exiting the ring and learning how to do like those Royal Rumble clothesline over the top things sucked. I think I sprained my wrist taking one of those once. I'm like, this is terrible. I would never want to do this ever.
Yeah, it doesn't look like fun at all. Like,
No, and I think like that's another thing too, because you're always just put in these situations that you can have some type of natural ability to wrestle, but there's always going to be one thing that you're not going to do well, and that's just life.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for me, it was basically everything except 3/4 rolls. So I told him like, yeah, I appreciate that you gave me time to come in and try out a free class. You gave me your time. But no. And I basically went back to him a couple weeks later and I said, you know what, actually, I do want to have some type of role in wrestling, maybe just do it a couple times a month or something. So maybe I could come in, do some type of training, and we'll see what like works. And he goes like, okay. So I was supposed to manage somebody. That person did something to his gluteus maximus. So I just say in unconventional terms that he broke his ass. So I couldn't manage him. And he asked me to do some
practice. Did he tear it?
No, he didn't tear it. He did like something to that tendon, and apparently it's like really hard to damage because it's a big tendon. But yeah, he was like, "Hey, do you want to ref these practice matches?" And just basically stuck. So I only had one role, at least at that point from the get-go. Moved on to other things, but worked out for me. For some people, they end up managing, realizing it's not for them, and they move on to wrestle or something like that. But for me, I think refereeing was a good place for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what year was that when you started? When the referee thing kind of fell in place?
So I think I started training the summer of 2018, and then that fall is when I debuted at Test of Strength. And it was actually at the first road show that they had, so that was pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah, that's the one thing I tell people all the time. They're like, man, I want to get in the business, but I'm out of shape and I don't want to be a wrestler and I don't want to take bumps. I'm like, there is something in this business for anyone. Yes. And it might not be on camera. There's people who need to make graphics. If you're a good graphic designer, wrestling companies need you. If you're good at camera work or editing or audio or like, there's so many different key things that are used in professional wrestling that you can get involved in that are always needed, because it's 9 times out of 10 one person doing 6 jobs.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely agree with that for sure. I was actually just kind of having an internal monologue with myself because now I've been doing more production stuff that I'm sure we'll talk about later. That in wrestling, I feel that although there are people who are self-starters and better at like the independent work, like I prefer working by myself. You could get far with it, but if you don't have a team and if you don't have teamwork skills, it's definitely going to make it very difficult. A lot of people like to hoard all those tasks themselves because they just feel like either they want to control everything or they just don't have the help. For the most part, it's probably people just don't have the help. So reaching out and saying, hey, I can't actually do this. Like the first thing that I've ever done in wrestling was sewing patches onto uniforms. That was the first thing I ever did. And then they're like, hey, could you run the locker room and tell people when they're on deck and stuff or when their matches are coming up? And yeah, so there's always something to do.
It's fun too, because like early in your thing where you're like, they'd walk out to the ring and you're like, I did that.
I did.
Everyone has those moments where you're like, those small little things. And you're like, that's my Mark moment. That's me.
Yeah, you got to own the stuff that you create. It's important.
Absolutely. Yeah, have fun with it. Now, in 2018, you're getting that thing. You're finding yourself. Refereeing is looking like it's going to be the spot for you. As a female ref, there's not many out there. So you have like, there's not someone you can like, this is who I aspire to be. This is like, so where do you sit mentally of like, I'm in an industry and now I'm in a spot in this industry where there's not many representations of me in this field?
I guess like for me, and I'm one of those people who has like a stupid answer to the question of like, does representation matter? I'm like, well, yeah, if it's done right. So I think that there is more like officials who are just non-male and non-white who you see on TV, like Ref Allison, who I devotedly follow on Twitter. I think she's really cool. She started working for Impact recently, so that's really cool. And I think she's out of the Tennessee area, like Nashville. I would have to double check on that, but like that area and like the Southeast. So that's another thing too, is like in your region, it's like who else like is there? And at the time in 2018, not really many of them. Even on TV, I think Jessica Carr got like her first NXT debut earlier that year. So Aubrey wasn't at AEW because that didn't exist then, and she did, I think, like a tournament for NXT. I think the women's tournament that I can't remember. Was it the Mae Young Classic? Yeah, right. So she did that, for example, and that was kind of like, okay, cool. No, I mean, you definitely have like Rhea Chatterton, I think her name is. I feel so bad because I just met her.
Yeah.
But I always like get last names wrong. So I just saw her like a few months ago, and she broke the glass ceiling that long ago. And yeah, I mean, a lot of things definitely have changed since then.
So, there's representation everywhere. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because like for ICW, for example, I think I was like their only female official that they had. Then Rep Scarlett out in the West Coast did a show for them. So like there's still other places to pioneer, like death matches, I think was one area I was trying to like get into, and I'm there. It's just I haven't done a lot of them yet. And yeah, but it's just I think a lot of it just has to do with I know for other people, they say that it's important to see themselves out there. And there are times where I think the milestones need to be a little bit bigger for me. So Kevin Koo and Akira had a pit fighter match, and I was officiating in it, and every person in that match was Asian American. Stuff like that is stuff that I'm like super into. The gender stuff is like, I don't know. I just don't really think about, like, I am a woman and I do identify as such, but like I just don't really think about it much. But for other people, they probably value that. So I'd be interested to know what another women official would say. But for me, I think it's more of like a race thing. Like I don't really see Filipino people in wrestling at all. So except Batista. And,
my wife's the same way. She's her mom's white and her dad was Vietnamese. So every time she sees like, or she hears another celebrity, and she's like, I think they're, and she finds they're Vietnamese. She's like, yeah, she gets excited.
Yeah, like there's certain like just demographics about yourself that you feel like you're more in tune to. So subscribe to get that 400.
We're trying. Thank you, Mick.
It's a good hype, this is fun. So subscribe. Episode 10. We're only on 10. Imagine how many more episodes we could get more subscribers. So that was your plug. I would say that that's definitely a big part of it. The IWTV 100 match, every person in there was a POC.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I feel like that's kind of like my the thing that I aspire to is that. On the gender side, though, I mean, if people like recognize and find value in it, cool. I'm not going to tell them one way or another. It's just for me. It's just like, I'm still an official, but
the gender thing's big for me only because I was someone who growing up in the 90s and the Attitude Era and stuff, I just didn't like women's wrestling because it wasn't taken seriously. It was over sexualized. It was bra and panty matches, and then you would have like a glimpse of someone who's really, really good, and you're like, why aren't they you? Like, why is Molly Holly? Why is Ivory? Why is Jackie being put in these stupid situations? And then like Trish started taking herself seriously when she was still like using her sexuality, but also like, hey, I'm training and working hard. And now women's wrestling is just amazing. Like AEW, WWE, they're taking it seriously. Women's wrestling, but how you're saying too, that the people of color being represented in wrestling, like that's so important across the board.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just like I attribute more attention to it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like I was also thinking to myself when you were mentioning about women's wrestling, the big reason why I love TNA during like that, I can't remember, was it like SmackDown that they were competing against, like the same hour block that they were on when they were
Was it
like
like Tuesdays when they were on Tuesdays?
probably Tuesdays, yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember which particular show, and I was just like, oh, okay, maybe I should check out TNA. And TNA was like that for me because I was seeing like smaller people, more like cruiserweight type people, like
Mhm.
Motor City Machine Guns going insane in there. And I was just like, wow, like I don't see people like this being used in high profile matches on SmackDown and Raw. And the women's division there was just it was such a good time. Like Gail Kim is still my favorite
Yeah.
women's wrestler.
She's so
Like
good.
she's like, and I'll see her like post every now and then. Like she got out at a really good time. Like we're definitely like wanting more. But that division was like, it blew my mind. Like how good that women's division was and what we were given during like the height of the diva era was
Mhm.
rough. And it sucked because like there were times where I would see like Michelle McCool, who I thought was really good wrestling, but then they would like kind of book her in a way that was just not, it didn't like, it wasn't for me. um yeah, so
Yeah.
I kind of attribute TNA to that type of.
Impact's always in
Yeah.
that boat. Like even right
Yes.
now, I always tell people, I'm like, if you probably watch Impact and dedicate your time like you do AEW and WWE, I guarantee you'll like the product. Their
Yeah,
storylines are
Impact's
good.
great.
Their talent's really good. Some of the people
Absolutely.
on the indie scene who have broken into the Impact scene are main reasons why I love checking it out. But
Mhm.
yeah, so that's kind of a good segue, obviously. You've
Mhm.
got to work hand in hand with a lot of the Northeast wrestling talent
Mhm.
all over the place.
Yeah.
We talked about IWTV 100. You were in there for an hour
Yeah.
with Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta. And not only has that match been amazing that day, but we've gotten it 3 more times
Yes.
in
Yeah.
2 other companies. Well, one, but technically ROH and
Right.
is
Yeah.
also AEW. And I remember when that match was first going to happen, I remember telling anyone who would listen, I'm like, if you want to see that match, it's already happened, and it was amazing. And it happened at IWTV 100 in the hottest building I've ever been in my life. I felt like I was in one of the rings of hell. It was that hot. And you were the referee in that match, and
Mm.
you were brilliant. It was everyone that was involved in that match did everything they were supposed to do, and it's still probably in my brain one of my favorite match I've ever seen.
It's funny too because like with the ROH stuff and how that saga has just continued over time. It's so funny because when the first it was Death Before Dishonor, was that the
Mhm.
first one that they did,
Yeah.
when they announced that that was happening, like almost to the date, like 1 year after that match happened, the 100 match, you see like all these people on Twitter going like, "Oh, I was there and I saw this match." It's kind of like the people
Like a
saying
badge
like,
of honor.
I saw Metallica back before they got signed. Like this. So it's like it's funny because being a part of like something like that where it is special. I mean, I know for sure, and it's been said on live television that Brian Danielson watched that match, and it's free on YouTube now, so you don't even have to subscribe. Let's subscribe anyways, because that
If
whole
you don't
show
if you don't
watching
have
it was really good.
if
And
you
I
don't have
mean, like,
ITV 100, you're crazy. You're
well,
absolutely insane.
another thing though is like a lot of people say that that match was really good, and for very good reason. But honestly, the entire show I felt was
Top to bottom.
definitely one of the highlights of independent wrestling, and it came at an interesting time because we were like sort of coming out of the pandemic, not really. It kind of seemed to me like it was just a whole room of people because that crowd really did add so much value to that match, so much value to the show. And there were just, it seemed like everyone was just happy to like watch wrestling again. And
Mhm.
the whole theme about that show was to centralize around the 100th defense of the IWTV championship, but there were past champions who were there too. Jonathan Gresham, the inaugural champion, Orange Cassidy teamed with Chris Statlander against Lee Moriarty, Trisha Dora.
Trisha
Trish is
Dora.
a
Oh,
world champion of her own right too. So, and you have matches like that. So I think that whole thing was very special, but I think we all like almost died of heat stroke
yeah.
being
And
in
Trisha
that building
Trisha
was so
Dora's
hot.
I forget her title name. If she,
I keep mispronouncing it, so I'm not going to even try.
yes, but her
Yes.
title that she had that at that time, as well as the IWTV title, were both recognized by Pro Wrestling Illustrated as world titles, which was a
Yes.
special moment as well.
It was. And Kevin McIlvaney from PWI was there. He presented the plaque before the 100 match happened too. And then we also got some photo ops with him before the show started. And yeah, it's really a big deal because there were two champions, not just one, but two titles that were recognized as world championships. And hopefully when those IWTV tag titles come out, they will be recognized as such too. But yeah, the 100 match was very challenging. It went 60 minutes to a draw. It was how hot do you think the building was? Because I hear different numbers.
It was easily over 100.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, yeah, because
but also I was sitting. I was telling you off camera.
Yes.
I was sitting behind Gorilla, where there was like the monitor. My buddy Brian, who was doing sound that day, who also did sound for the High Tension Wrestling Network show previously. So it was a double shot. So we were there for not one show but two in that building.
Some of the wrestlers were too.
Yeah, and it was, and huge props to my buddy Brian BP Burke, who I do commentary with. He's never done music before.
Really?
That was his first time ever doing music, and he did 2 in one day.
No
and
way.
One of them happened to be IWTV 100.
Wow.
So that's a cool little badge for BP Burke. So it was myself, BP, and Kaya McKenna in that gorilla position watching on the monitor. And I was just like, it's and there's a vent that's coming out of the wall that's just blowing hot air right into us, and it's going straight up the commentary. And I was like, I can't do this no more. I have to go sit in the car. So I literally put it on my phone and I watched it on IWTV from my car with the AC, and the AC wasn't even working because it was just hot that day. It was a rough day.
I never noticed the vents that Anthony mentioned before because I've been to that building actually a whole bunch of times, so I really have no excuse. But I was mentioning to him too, the commentary table, that's rough because like Dylan Waco and Dylan Hales. I'm so sorry about that. I forgot you changed your name. And Struggles, who did commentary for most of the
Avery was on the main event too.
Yes. And
we had to help him down the ladder with his boot on.
They were upstairs where like the heat just rises at night, and they were there like the whole show basically.
Suit and ties.
It was something. But I mean, to even wrestle that style and that, I think that's what makes this match very special, is because that style of wrestling would say normally be very, very hard to get a crowd behind in the Northeast area, because the Northeast area has seen everything. So they want like what's really exciting, but it really adds to the credit of the two competitors, Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia, the value that they have to their names, to do that for an hour, no outside interference. Basically like no really big breaks either,
and pretty much kept it in between the ropes the whole time.
Yeah, like I think Daniel went outside like once, and I checked on him, but they really only went on the outside like not very long. They had 20 seconds. And yeah, I would say that watching it back, and I still watch it back all the time, is that there were definitely some points where I was like cringing over, like, I was late on that count. But Kevin Koo, who has been there before, and I also did a very long match with him at Uncharted Season 4 recently. I think it was like a 45-minute match. He says to me, it was so hot in there that we just thought that your brain was probably melting, and you did way better than expectations in terms of the heat.
Yeah.
So it was very hot, and it got match of the year of last year. So
it did.
Yeah.
And
I
like
think
I said,
really is a gem.
Yeah. I remember everyone just being like, that was, I love those wins for my friends in the business, right? So like, and for me, like seeing you in there, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And Rep Gina's involved in it. Like I was happy for you to have that moment. But so that match is obviously very, very high on your list. But who are some other matches that you've reffed on the independent scene that just kind of stick to you, and why?
So I'd say that the other one I mentioned, Kevin Koo and Adam Priest. So for those who don't know, I lived in Florida for a couple of years and was actually traveling to the Northeast a lot. When I started working more with IWTV on like the back end of stuff, they invited me to do Uncharted Territory Season 4. That was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So I moved there for about like 3 months. I lived in Chattanooga on and off, but I just say that I lived there for the summer. Puts my credit up.
Yeah.
And I did the season. So Adam Priest was a very, very big standout of that particular season. And it's all available to watch on demand on IWTV. How's that? So it's cool. It's a good way to get introduced to a Southeast area with wrestlers there. Wrestlers like Jaden Newman, who also trained me. I trained at the TWE Center. Kevin Koo, who's now up in Chicago. You see people like Tank, who is like a 30-year veteran in the area. And you also have like people like Tony Deppen, Alec Price coming down and doing matches there.
I'm wearing Deppen's Brewery's hat right now.
Excellent. I forgot that you're Pennsylvanian.
I drink there all the time.
I just saw him recently, actually, at Interspecies.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. But it was a very long match. It went about like 45 minutes. I got drop kicked in it. And that's probably the moment that everybody remembers mostly because people troll me on Twitter about it all the time, but it's okay. I have it as a badge of honor. So that was really cool. It was a similar type of style too, where it wasn't like really big flashy stuff, but that's what Southern wrestling is. It's very, very different. I just did one with Marcus Mathers and Jordan Oliver at Expect the Unexpected.
That's two talents right there to keep.
That went 40 minutes.
Write those names down.
That went 40 minutes, and I was just like, I can't believe I'm getting conned into this like half-hour match, and then just kept going.
It's like your badge now. You're the Iron Man match ref queen.
Yeah. I want to do another one for sure. I have never actually done an official Iron Man. I just did the 60-minute time limit. That just came to a draw. So those are definitely some big ones. Like there's just so many people I like refereeing. But when it comes to matches, I'd say that's like a top 3. That should be enough for that
absolutely.
Lots of memories though.
When you are reffing, obviously those style of matches, and what all styles have you conquered so far? So you had your time limit where they went the full time.
Oh yes, time limit draws, singles, lucha. When I was working at Shikara, I was doing some lucha tag stuff. Like normal tag, tornado tag. I did a tornado tag once at Beyond. It was with Jordan Oliver, Myron Reed. I feel like Jordan Oliver is going to be like the magical name. Jordan Oliver, Myron Reed against Bear Country, who are now Iron Savages. So that was a tornado tag at the Boardwalk. So that was kind of cool. That was on the Boardwalk. I've done a couple hardcore matches. I started doing death matches recently. A ladder match, I did one, even though you don't really do much of that. Rumbles. I did a tag gauntlet. That was probably one of the harder ones because tag gauntlets is just like you have to keep resetting until someone is a victor. Triple threats, 6-pack challenges. I hate those. I don't like them. I like doing multi-people matches like scrambles and like 4-corner or whatever, but 6-pack challenges suck because you have to be aware of tags and they're on all 4 corners. So there's like no neutral corner you can go to like really pay attention. So you can miss stuff for sure. So I don't know. Like, I think it's like those super duper stipulation matches. Like, I don't know. Like an actual Iron Man where there are like the 3 falls, submissions, whatever, that I haven't really done. I did a submission only match actually on IWTV show for Pro Wrestling Magic. I did not know it was a submission only match until the middle of the match, and Kaya's like, "It's submission only." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So
who was that? Kaya and who?
Kaya and Jordan Blade.
Oh, that was that Leapfrog?
IWTV Untitled. That was a couple Octobers ago.
No, it wasn't Jordan Blade. That was who did she? Oh, Bonesaw. It was Kaya and Bonesaw did a match at Leapfrog. Yeah.
Sorry, they're making a
May I have your attention, please?
I'm gonna mute.
All right. We'll give it a second here. Lisa, she just answered that one. There's a little bit of delay, but I appreciate you guys. If you guys do have questions, put them in the chat. I will get you guys involved. If I'm not saying hi to everybody, I'm sorry. I'm just really focused on the interview. I'm having a great time here. I'm not trying to ignore you, but if you do have questions, please put them in. And as you guys keep typing, I will keep putting your comments up. I appreciate all the love and support. I think I got the 2 subscribers, so we might have hit 350.
Yay!
So thank you.
Oh my God! Yeah, we did.
It did pop up on the thing, but so yeah. Deathmatch wrestling.
Yeah. Wrestling.
What challenges come into deathmatch wrestling? Because I've talked to some refs and I asked this question before, but you are the first ref I got to interview on camera, which is exciting.
Okay.
We just recently had a buddy of mine cut himself real bad in a deathmatch, Radkin, where he cut his wrist real bad.
Yeah, I did see that.
I had a friend, a person that we worked with who was in a match where the opponent got cut real bad. So like you're in situations where you have to kind of make that call where, because a lot of wrestlers with their egos are not going to want to stop a match for a cut or something, but you obviously have to worry about their safety. How is that a challenge when at all, just in matches in general, your job is to be a safety official, but even worse in a deathmatch style?
I mean, I definitely had somebody who basically shattered his ankle during a match and he wouldn't stop. And I think because he kept wrestling, it probably made it worse. But he had really big workmanship there that was definitely displayed for everybody to see because, like, he just wanted to keep going. And I get it because it's just, you don't want to stop. You want to keep going. You want to finish. But yeah, there are times where you do need to step in and say, like, you need to stop or else like this is going to get worse. Or if like they're really cut bad, like you could probably die or something. Not to say that lightly, but that's just the only way it could really express it.
It's happened to Nick.
Yep. There are people who, who have decided to keep wrestling even after I said you need to stop or tag out if it was like a tag match or whatever. And that's really on them at that point. With dead matches, though, you just have the discretion to stop. And I would say in singles as well, you can do that. I had like a couple people who got knocked out, but luckily the other opponent just like lightly pinned them or something. Or they came to and they wanted to keep going or something. Like there are times where you just have to stop it completely. And a tag match is a little bit easier because like you could sort of like work something out if they're like not to the point of like being concussed and like convulsing on the ground or whatever. But death matches, you do have to completely stop them.
Have you ever had to throw it like the infamous X up? Yeah.
No, I never had to do that.
That's my greatest fear on commentary is being like, because that's the thing too, is like being a fan is one thing, but when you start becoming friends with the roster and the people and the people who go in there and do the work, and then you're on a call and you watch a kick kind of land or a clothesline or they land weird on their neck or their head, and you're kind of like want to call the match, but you're also concerned for your friend. It's scary.
Well, I mean, it's just concern for the competitors in general. But I mean, for me, it was just I never had anything where someone was like so bad that I had to like stop it completely. It was mostly like someone would tweak their ankle or do something and they're still moving and they still want to keep going. So like I can't, tell them one way or another. But there were people who were just like, I do need help like getting out of here after the match is over, or I need help, just give me like a second to, because like I hit my head or whatever, but I'm still good for it. So I mean, I hate to like jinx myself, but I feel like that moment.
Well, let's hope that never happens, because that's not something you want to experience,
right.
Yeah.
And, like over time, you just also get better at recognizing when like, okay, we just need to stop right now. But it's also few and far in between, I think, in wrestling in general. But yeah, I'd say that that's one thing for sure. With death matches, I think a big part of it is understanding that you're just going to block the camera sometime. And I'm actually starting to do more production as well. Like if I'm not refereeing on Wrestling Open, if I'm not subbing in for someone to ref there, I'm running like roaming camera, hard cam, or like doing something on a tablet so we could get like those Instagram, YouTube reel stories out there. So now that I've been doing that more, I understand the importance of a good shot. But when you're doing deathmatch wrestling, there's just all this stuff all over the place. and sometimes you have to get down and count. Sometimes you won't have the perfect positioning because you have to worry about yourself too. You have to like clear things, and then you could go ahead and start counting if there's stuff in the way. With Pit Fighter, it's a little bit harder in some aspects because you're in the cage, so you can't get out in and out as easily. I mean, in the chains for No Holds Barred with like glass and stuff, it's very much like that. But with the pit, you're working a circle and not a square. Yeah. So it's like a lot of those things. And I think over time, you just get more used to it. It's also just remembering those small etiquette things, like with the light tubes. A lot of the times with the light tubes, like they'll have the U-shape glass shards. And because of that, your job is to immediately start stomping on them or clear them out.
I just learned that at a show not too long ago.
Okay.
Also kicking out the end caps.
Yes.
Like make sure the end caps get out.
Which one did you learn that?
Pro Wrestling After Dark. Pete Corvus versus Charlie Bonifer. I think they went through like 85 light tubes.
Yeah.
And the referees in there just stomping stuff out. And
you do have to stomp it out. I mean, you might not be able to get every single one depending on what kind of glass, like if you're using a lot of light tubes, etc. But yeah, because they do pierce, and light tubes are just so notoriously known for being unpredictable.
Yeah.
At least with like tempered glass, you kind of like have like an idea of like how it's going to shatter. But light tubes, like I just saw like a video of someone, I think either at the H2O Center, I think, hit a light tube on the ground, and like the end just like flew right through the ropes and into the crowd. So yeah, the end caps you have to get out too. Sometimes you have to keep them in there though, because they like to use them, then throw it out themselves.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, gusset plates. If they get stuck on your clothes, it sucks to get out. I had it stuck to my pants for like one match, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah,
so you learn to just use like all your old clothes, just use them for death.
Well, that was my question. When you go in and you're doing a death match, do you prep differently? Like, do you wear like pants and then something underneath your pants? Do you wear long sleeve? Do you wear gloves?
Yeah, I usually have like a compression pants underneath them. I use my old wrestling pants. I still use just like my regular knee pads because I've had them for so long and they get ripped. No big deal. I'll just get another pair. I have very special shoes that have like the hard treads on the bottom. And I also wear safety goggles. I don't ever risk my eyes with anything. Mm-hmm. I did one match at Expect the Unexpected a few weeks ago where they didn't use glass, but they used those poppers, like those little things that you throw on the ground and they pop and make a noise. And they do have a tendency to fly around. Then of course you have like your gloves too. Some people wear long sleeves. I don't, because I don't count with my forearm in those matches. So, but yeah, it's being, you have to anticipate pins and clear it so they could go ahead and start counting, or else if you start counting on like glass and stuff, you could puncture something, you could rip something, it could fly up in your face, all that kind of stuff. So it's a very different type of refereeing in that case. And of course, you always have to check it and make sure that they're doing all right.
Yeah. I hope my comment on Gina gets asked. If not, it's okay. Earlier, you asked what is the greatest matches she've reffed, and she did answer that one. She gave 2 or 3 different matches she enjoyed, as well as the IWTV one. Unless there's something that didn't come through, I do apologize, Lisa, if you want to retype it. Now, I have a little bit of a technical question, and I hope I asked this properly because, like I said, I'm someone who I'm still learning through wrestlers of what they go through and technical things, maybe behind the curtain a little bit. But the reason I asked is because Bankos really broke this down to me when I asked him and I had a chance to pick his brain. Mm-hmm. And he says, like, as a ref, obviously you have to be mindful of your camera. You have to be mindful of in the ring so you're not in the way, but also be in a spot where people can, like, you can be seen. So if it's a 2 or a 3, you can tell the ring person, like the bell. Yes. So he says he breaks the ring up in his mind into quadrants. So he knows I have to be in this quadrant, Do you have a strategy as a referee of kind of like placement of where you need to be so you don't really get tripped up or in the way of something, but you still put yourself in a position that you can keep an eye on things?
I don't know if I would say as meticulous as like breaking it up into quadrants like Bankos would say. That seems like such a Bankos answer. I have to say that. Over time, I started actually becoming much more lenient about cameras. In the past, I was super, super strict on do not cross that hard cam area do not have your butt to hard cam, whatever. But as time went on, and the more that you just like kind of accept that indie wrestling is indie wrestling, sometimes like things like that's okay. I think if anything, don't ever block roaming camera because that's always going to be the best shot that you have. And it's kind of opposite of what referees are usually taught when they're starting, at least for me. I don't know how much the era has changed in that type of training, but they would say like, don't cross hard cam because that's like, the big shot. But roaming camera just picks up so many details that you can never find in like a bird's eye type of view situation. Like you want to be personal and get up there and see like what's happening. So those roaming cameras are very, very important. Now, again, it depends on the match. Of course, death matches and stuff, like there's just nothing you can do. You just have to do the best that you can.
Be where you're comfortable at that point.
So I would just be mindful of the roaming cameras for the most part. Of course, don't try to cross. I try to just stick to the back corners if I can, but it also depends on the match. Like if you have a scramble and people are going crazy in there, or if you have tag matches, like it's really going to change depending on what it is. But yes, I would say that definitely trying to be as visible as possible with Bell. It's actually funny that you mentioned that. Someone who was on Bell at Expected Unexpected couldn't see me because a door was like blocking his view. The door was like propped up against one of the turnbuckles, so he couldn't see me.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice that beforehand. So I usually try to do better. I've actually kind of been slacking on it, so this is good for me to be mindful of where the bell is. And the people who are like, hey, no, it's two. Tell them to bring it yet. I always try to check before.
I messed with a referee a couple shows ago at High Tension as the bell guy. Every time he would do two, I would go two, and I act like I was about to hit it, and he would just like look at me and shake his head. Or he would, when he was doing a last man standing match, he would be like one, and I'd be like, two's next, two, and then he go two, I go three, and then he would just like try to laugh while he's doing his counts. That's fun. But,
I actually like it when whoever is on Bell gets interactive because it really makes like a big difference. Instead of someone who's just
any energy you give to something, it's gonna like, especially if you're on Bell and you're like, okay.
Yeah. I think Rich Palladino is probably a very good example of that. So I'm glad that you do that because it's good. It's good to know.
I'll call back. I'll say two.
Yeah,
it means nothing, but to me it's fun because you're playing into the role. And
I think it means a lot. I think it does.
I know I'm that crowd guy who watches the small details of like the stuff around. And if you're like, oh, they're really talking, like it kind of plays into the allure a little more. So I had another ref question, and it literally left as we were talking. So one of the questions in the chat here, if WB called you to be a ref, would you go be a ref? I think so. This question gets asked a lot to the people thing. Like, would you rather go to AEW or WWE? In this industry, whoever calls, we're going. You know what I mean? I don't think there's like a hard like I won't go here or there.
And especially since like you see things, WWE would probably be the best place to go because I feel like their style is better to learn. I think honestly though, if I were to work for TV, I'd be more interested in doing production.
Yeah.
Just because like with TV wrestling, there's just
you'd be a good ref at Impact.
On Impact, that'd be kind of cool. I don't know. I mean, like TV reffing is also very, very different than what you see on the independent. So it'd be like a whole new system to learn as well. But WWE, I think, has the best training for it. And a lot of the times, like you'll just find talent. Like Kofi Kingston got picked up like as soon as like possible.
Yeah.
And people are like, wow, like, he doesn't really have like a lot of experience, but they had the time to train him in that system. And he didn't have any bad habits from the independents in order for him to be really good as a WWE wrestler. So it is a good question, but it's also kind of like, TV style is just so incredibly different.
It's like you're the college kid coming out of college. You're like, what team do you want to get drafted for?
I think that's a very, very good.
Yeah, it's like I'm playing for whoever signs me a contract.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, for me, I probably would not go to Dallas, just because. So I do remember my question now, and this is when I say this question, I don't want it to come off as I'm throwing shade or anything, because I personally think every referee has their place and has their style, and whatever their style is, I enjoy. But right now, I think as referees, I think sometimes the AEW refs get a little flack for maybe taking away from the match because they're animated. I personally like it. I think they have dialed it back a little bit, and I think it kind of took me out of it a little bit. I liked watching Aubrey get involved in matches. I like Bryce getting involved with matches. I like not involved, but being animated. We're kind of like the WB style is like they're almost don't be seen as a referee. And I kind of like when the ref's part of it in some aspects. Where do you lie on that? Because I think you're more in the try not to be seen category.
Well, I mean, like, it also just depends on what the match is. Like, absolutely, depending on what the show is, too. So, for example, Blitzkrieg, very happy to be back with them. Oh, my God. It was like a glove, like just putting on a glove again. I used to love, like, working there, and I just – it felt good to be back. They used to have this bar show that was in Westfield, Mass., and – Jeremy Leary, the promoter there, was like, do whatever you want, because this is like a crowd who wants to have that interaction. So, and it was great. Like, I was just able to do what I wanted there. But when it came to like the bigger shows that we did out of the other venue, oh my gosh, the one in Enfield, Connecticut, but it's escaping me right now. It's a banquet hall. I don't do that. I try to be a little bit more like, but it depends on like what the match is called for. Like, if it's silly, if there's like comedy stuff, of course, like there are, opportunities to do something funny. Like at Camp Leapfrog, that one show that we did, I did a dive, which was
awesome.
Me on the apron and just like a little squirrel.
Yeah, you did the whole one up like
yeah, Skiff. I miss it. It'd be so funny. So yeah, that was but I think it does depend on the situation. I like both.
Skip's on the list of coming up.
Oh yeah, okay, great.
Yeah,
he's such an interesting individual because like the only time where I was like introduced to him, Logan Easton LaRue brought him to like a show once. So like, oh, this is my friend. Like, you just stand up, and then all of a sudden he just started like doing shows. Like, how did this happen?
And then
I'm interested to know what the story is, but I digress.
Yeah. Logan, another amazing talent.
Yeah, I think he should be booked all the time.
I agree.
Yep. The biggest mistake that we made with Uncharted Territory Season 4 was not inviting him down.
Yeah. He was drafted in my Indy draft. I put him on my list.
Good choice.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite promotions to work? I know you list off a few. My buddy Pete, he talks up interspecies wrestling so much. Every time he goes up there, he says he has an absolute blast.
It is fun. Yeah. I only did one show, but I used to go to interspecies a lot as a fan because one of the
garbage pail shirt, by the way.
What's that?
It looks like a garbage pail shirt, like a Garbage Pail Kids.
It's like I forgot the name of this.
Yeah, but the font looks like the Garbage Pail
Roadkill
sticker.
Raccoon. That's what it says on the bottom.
Yeah.
So I used to be a fan of this show, and I used to go because they ran in Connecticut as well as Canada. I am from Connecticut, and I live in Connecticut again. So it was kind of cool to see something like that. And actually, Jeremy Leary homages interspecies a lot with Blitzkrieg. He will even openly say on Twitter, like, interspecies is what we modeled ourselves after. It gave him like so much inspiration. I was so happy that he got a match on that show. So that was really fun. There was a food fight, and I never want to do one again. It's way worse than glass. Food sucks. You could slip on it. The cake, anything with frosting on it, you could slip. Pasta, you can actually slip on pasta, even if it's dry. Like, I tried stomping on it and started doing this, and I was like, okay, we're done. It ruined my shoes, and I had to buy new shoes. And I looked up at Tony Deppen. I said to him, I'd rather deal with glass.
Tony has done a lot of food style matches.
He's done a lot of things in general. I think he had a really good match against Tank. I think like episode 2 of Uncharted Season 4. So I would recommend that for sure.
Yeah, Deppen's amazing. He just wrestled Gage for the title, and then he's looking to wrestle Ricky Morton soon at GC.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
excellent. Good for him.
Now, how you were saying before, on the other side of the camera, I usually try to wrap this in an hour. I'm squeezing it in, but I have so many questions. I'm so excited. So you had a yoga show on IWTV, which was really fun. It was cool to see not only just yoga, but you interacting with different talent. I think you and Edith were super entertaining that episode.
Yeah, and we had a special guest, King Crab.
Yes.
Was Hermit Crab as the guy who would lead us through Shavasana, and meditation. I would say actually the episode with Edith and Effie was the first one that we recorded. So we did 6 episodes over the course of like a 3-day weekend, in addition to also filming Cassandra Cup, the first tournament, and Camp Leapfrog, Love Frog. So it was just so many things that we had to do. And then they had the 1984, 1987 show that was live on Facebook or something.
Yeah.
That was a day after. So I was refereeing on top of like doing those episodes, and they're all about like, I don't know, maybe like a half hour in length. So yeah, Wrestling Yoga Studio is on IWTV. I would say that it's definitely rough. It's probably the first time I've ever done something like that instructionally through videos. But that I would say doing that project definitely led me to doing more backstage stuff for IWTV. Another announcement's coming.
Yes, if you have an opportunity, Effie versus Edith at Love Frog was a fantastic match. I already loved Camp Leapfrog leading into that, but I remember I didn't really want to push Alex, my buddy who owns it. But as soon as I seen Love Frog, I was like, whatever you need, dude, I will come and hold a broom. I need to be part of this project in some form or fashion. And I came in at Frog Sport and Heavyweights. That was my introduction to camp.
Yeah,
I actually have the kick pad is right there.
Oh, excellent. From Frog Sport?
Frog Sport, yep.
Okay, yeah. I was supposed to do that show, and then I was like closing in my house or something. So it was like a whole other thing.
And you have a tag team tournament that you're going to be kind of behind the scenes booking, producing. Let's talk about that.
Oh gosh. So
whatever we're allowed to talk about.
It's okay. I'll try to make it quick. The T4 Summit is the tag team or the territory tag team tournament. I never remember the order, so I just called the T4 Summit. And that is to determine the bracket so we could crown the inaugural IWTV Tag Team Champions. That's going to be done at Heavy Eliza Crown. That's a New Year's Eve show, right before New Year's Eve. And that is going to be in Worcester, Massachusetts for Festival. That's a Beyond show. So the finals will be done then. And we're going to be doing the quarterfinals and the semifinals at the IWTV Class of 2022 show. That's going to be done on that Friday, starting at 7 on the 30th. So that will also be done at Wrestful. Wrestful is a 3-day wrestling event. So there's 9 different shows. I'm working every single one of them. So there's 3 shows per day. And one of them you'll see me on camera. Everything else you'll see me ref. And I've been booking the tag team tournament, and it was strange to be given a booking responsibility for something this big. I would think that maybe if someone wanted me to come in and do like a local show to book, like we do this, no, you're going to do this tournament. So
you're going to crown the first ever IWTV Tag Team Champion. That's so exciting for you. I'm so pumped.
But I also work with the team too, so there are some team decisions that we have to make. So in the quarterfinals, unfortunately, Bryce Donovan from Shakru just announced that he's hurt. So that is in the interim of figuring out what we're going to be doing with that. So there will be an announcement coming out soon, right before the event, I promise. So fortunately, Shakru and Bryce Donovan in particular can't participate. But everybody else, Brandon Casey Kirk, the Kirks. We have Infinity and Beyond. We have Miracle Generation, who are the Wrestling Open Eliminator Cup holders, and whoever holds the Eliminator Cups get an automatic into the quarterfinals. Culture Inc. from Florida. I'm very excited about them because Florida is like the forgotten state of wrestling, and it's nice to have a team from Florida come up for that one. Violence is Forever. I mean, what else do you have to say about them? We also have C4 from the West Coast coming up. They are also doing a prestige show afterwards against Brick City Boys, so they'll be streaming afterwards as well. All this is streaming, by the way. So I have 6 here. I'm forgetting one. And who is it? All right, so we have Kirk's. See, I'm always bad with this type of stuff. C4. And they're going to yell at me once. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank here. Oh my gosh. Well, once they come to mind, and I'll double check my phone really quickly.
Yeah. I'll
I feel so bad about this, but it's like,
the best way, and the way to experience all this is IWTV, independentwrestlingtelevision.com. It is $9.99 a month. I will promise you, if you are a pro wrestling fan,
Mainstay Posse. I am so sorry, Mainstay Posse. I did not mean to leave you out. You just there's just so many teams, and we also have a gauntlet to determine the next IWTV champion as well.
Nice.
Because unfortunately, Cruel has suffered something. I guess like we don't really know what's going on with him. He disappeared into the ether, and we're just going to crown a new champion. Hopefully, he comes back.
Part of me wishes I always wanted that Avery Good IWTV title run, and we never got it.
We do have.
I was at his retirement match. It was so special.
Just to really quickly go over the gauntlet contenders, Trish Adora is in it. Warhorse, Tracy Williams, Alex Shelley is in it. We also have AC Mack, Hoodfoot, Matt Tremont, and Adam Priest. So that would be an 8-person gauntlet for the titles. Lots of very big matches.
Who are you rooting for?
For that one, it's tough to say because like there's just so many people who have it. I think that Tracy Williams is such a very underrated wrestler.
I watched Tracy Williams versus Willow.
Champion twice already, so he also has a leg up in this type of stuff versus everybody else. Trish Adora, of course, I would like to see go.
That's my pick. I want. We've had one woman champion already with Chris Statlander, and Trish Adora would be a great person to reclaim that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see another woman get that title too.
Warhorse, he would be a 2-time, I believe, if he won, right?
Yep, and he had the longest streak, so that's still on the table for him.
Yeah, that's exciting. Like I said, going back to IWTV, $9.99, so much content. If you are a professional wrestling fan and all you watch is WWE, AEW, the whole nine, you literally turn on that streaming service and you'll see like main event, Max Caster versus this. Like there's still people who are on TV who are working shows. Masha Slamovich is still making appearances and doing absolutely insane stuff.
And if I can add, the 100 match was kind of what led Garcia and Yuta to get signed. So you never know.
You're going to see the next stars of television on TV.
Absolutely.
Oxen Andretti just got signed. Somebody I worked for a while. He just got signed to AEW. Like everyone's coming out of this independent scene because independent wrestling is not like it used to be in the 90s and like where the early 2000s where it's just a bunch of dudes who got off their construction jobs or chubby bellies and just went out there and rolled around. The independent scene is insane. They work so hard. They train really hard. And listen, the chubby daddies out there are still killing it. But I'm just saying it's a completely different game in the independent wrestling scene. I promise you, if you seek out independent wrestling in your area, you will have a blast. No doubt about it in my mind.
I've said it better, so.
My last question here is something more on a little personal level. Something that you kind of did over the pandemic, and I kind of want to dive into why and how much you progressed in it. You went out and learned sign language.
I did, yes. So I started a couple years ago learning it. I just wanted to find a new skill and learn a different culture. So I'm currently living in a household with one deaf person and 2 people who are children of deaf adults. So everybody in the house signs. I would say that's definitely been getting better, and it's interesting to ingratiate yourself into a culture as well. You start to learn different things too. I think that signing is cool. I don't know, like it's nice to just meet a community who is they care, and it's cool too because like when I meet other people who are deaf or hard of hearing or people who sign, they try to really like bridge the gap, even if like I don't know certain things. And another weird thing too is like I learned Southern signs. So when I moved up here, because I took classes in Florida,
you could have an accent when you're signing.
Well, oh my God, I had a Southern accent for a little bit. And I didn't even notice. People were like, "Why are you talking so funny?" I'm like, "Oh my God, it's like living in the South for a while." So
I have a buddy who moved to England, and now he has an English accent.
Yeah, like I don't know. There's something with garbage where I think I like learned it this way, and like the slang for it is this. So like there's informal and formal things that I'm learning. I just got my sign name the other night and I was like crying because it's a rite of passage. Someone who gives you a sign name should be someone in the community, and it's modeled a lot after my friend Brian, and his name is a B that goes over the heart twice, and mine is my initials, GM. So
I love that.
I think it's so sweet. Yeah. I like signing.
I seen two things. So when I was like, when you were doing your sign thing, obviously when you go on the internet and you absorb that content, your algorithms pick things up. And I remember not too long after seeing you learn sign, I seen a video of a little girl going up to meet a Christmas Santa,
Mhm.
and he looked at the family and goes, "Oh, she's deaf," and they're like, "Yes," and he starts signing to her as Santa
Oh.
Claus, and like everyone was just like, "Yeah." So anyway,
Yeah.
and then there was another one.
Inclusivity is a wonderful thing. It
Yeah.
really is.
And there was another one where this guy lived in this community, and this community, I'm like getting like teary. I think about it. The entire community learned sign for him. Like, so he went to the grocery store and they started signing to him because they realized like he lived in their community and he went to all the coffee shops and everything. So like the community banded together to learn sign for this one person. I was like, what an awesome thing for humans to do.
Yeah. And it's just cool to just learn again a new culture. So I mean, for some people it might be Spanish. For other people,
I'm trying to learn Spanish, but I only learned I learned all the bad words first.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. But if anyone has anything in the chat, please ask it now. We're going to wrap up here. Gina, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to get out there?
Oh gosh, I was just very happy that you plugged my show. Both the Wrestling Yoga Studio and IWTV 2022. It really has been a big year of change for me, even though I definitely didn't take as many bookings just because I was in Florida for most of the year. I moved to a different place and experienced wrestling in a different area. I started working more. Originally, I said, "Hey, could I just write you the rule book for this tag tournament?" And then from there, they just like, "Hey, do you want to like book the show with us?"
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of growth, and it just kind of goes to show you that even if like you are in wrestling, if someone who's listening and you're like, I kind of don't know like what's next, just try a different rollout for a bit and try those tasks and see, because I feel like being a rep, of course is always going to be like a core value to all this stuff, but all the other things I've been doing have just been so meaningful. And it's cool because like I typically don't do a lot of creative things. I'm a software engineer, but I don't like design stuff. I just kind of like, hey, do this thing, and you go ahead and do it. But I get to like, I don't know, make a story, and I think that's really cool.
So the chat, I think refs deserve their own intro outro music.
Oh gosh, yeah. I think about like what my intro music would be all the time.
What would it be?
Oh, I go between like Knights of Sidonia by Muse and like some heavy metal trash, like
if they ever gave me
All That Remains or something, like So I go in between. I actually did wrestle the Incarnation Gauntlet for Southern Underground Pro in Nashville. I just did like a very silly thing, and I came out to Save a Prayer by Duran Duran. So nice. I had to choose, but it was like on the spot. I'm like, oh, I don't know. So,
yeah, if they ever gave me music to come out to, it would 100% be "Let's Hear It for the Boy."
Oh, that's very sweet. Okay.
It's a great song. Let's hear it for, and you get the crowd.
Yeah,
they do the clap.
It's easy to dance to. Yeah. Right.
Listen, I want to be completely transparent when I say this. I messaged Alex on High Tension. I was like, man, I'm really nervous about this interview. Gina, I really respect you, the way you conduct yourself, your work ethic, everything you do in this business. I respect what you do. I was nervous for this interview. I'm very, very thankful. When you reached out, like I was like, Ref Gina wants to do my podcast. It made my day, and I really apologize for how long it took to finally set this up. But I want to say, like, I'm definitely watching your career. I love what you do. And like I said, like the behind the scenes things, the like going out of your way to learn sign language, the yoga. You're just like you way you inspire people with like working out. Like you transformed yourself and did so many cool things this year that like I feel like more people. You inspire people. Like you're a very positive person, and you're someone that like I like to put things on my social media wall that motivate me. And I try to keep people in my algorithm that motivate me to become a better person. And you are definitely one of those people.
Oh, thanks. I don't know what to say to that, except that it's more when I was living in Florida, it was kind of like hard because I was just so isolated from a lot of people, and I just learned over time that like I think life is just more interesting and better if you share your experiences with others. So now that being said, I also post like a lot of memes on Twitter.
Yeah, they're very funny.
So I don't really know how positive that is
Yeah.
in terms of influence, but
yeah. No, but I just like it. Just the best thing I can tell people is when you're on social media is follow people and interact with people and follow content that makes like it's like putting yourself around a positive light. And just if you get something positive out of somebody, that's the people you should attach yourself to. And you're definitely one of those contents that I do that with. And I want to thank you kind of because you don't even know you were doing it, But thank you so much, seriously, for this interview. I cannot wait to see what more comes. And the fact that you're going to be booking the IWTV Tag Team Championship, that you can only ever do that once, and you're involved.
That's true. Yeah. Well, we'll see what else comes out about it. I had a lot of fun today, and I'm excited to see where your show's going to go and what you're doing. Especially with High Tension. It's a shame that I live so far out because I wanted to make a lot of those dates, but we'll make something work for sure.
I'm sure anytime you're free, they would love to have you.
Yeah. It was always like a good time exploring that area and working with all of you. But I had a really good time today, and you're a great interviewer. I encourage everybody to subscribe to this. Do you have a tease of who's coming up next?
Next week I have someone very new in their career. Okay. They're training out of the Battle Pro Alpha Junior School. Nolan Pierce out there. He's very new to the game.
Feel like I know that name.
Yeah,
but I also know a lot of names too. So
yeah.
Okay.
So it's going to be someone new, kind of new in their career. I've been bouncing. This podcast is open to anybody. I interviewed a horror movie director, my first one. I've interviewed a guy my buddy in a band who's a drummer. So I'm open to any conversation. You don't have to be a content creator. If you just have a story that you think inspires people, or if you went through something in your life that you're willing to tell the story, I'm willing to talk to you. There's going to be a lot of wrestling content just because that's the field I'm in, and that's kind of where I'm at all the time. And I think their stories are really inspiring and fun to learn.
I would love it if Adam Gold came on here because I just feel like he has so many interesting stories to tell. Adam Gold.
Oh my God, yeah.
I
love Adam. I would 100% have Adam on.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, but thank you so much once again. All the links below. Please go follow Gina on Instagram, Twitter, and show that support. Go subscribe to IWTV and go check out the tournament. All the great shows are going to be coming up that she's going to be behind the scenes with.
Yeah. Wrestling Open on Thursday is going to be the next one that I'm actually refereeing on. I only sub in when they need me to, but sometimes when you watch Wrestling Open, you'll find me doing camera stuff if you catch me. I love that environment. It's a really cool show to go to. And then after that, it's the 3-day festival that starts on the 29th at 3 p.m., I believe, with Pizza Party Pro. So
Pizza Party is another show I want to get to and experience live. Beyond Pizza Party,
Dan would actually be a really good person to interview because I feel like his whole vision for that promotion is so unique, and I would love to know more about it. Yeah, so I hope he comes on. That would be really cool.
I'm down. Put the name out there. Let's make the connection.
I get to see him next Thursday. Be like, look, Dan, you got to do this show.
Yeah, and listen, we need Ref Gina merch. We need to figure that out.
So I had one artist make a avatar of me that's.
It looks awesome.
Yeah, it's very cute, and I was thinking like maybe I can make it into a sticker or a button. We'll see.
If you make stickers or pins, let me know. I want one.
Okay, I just feel like ref merch doesn't really sell much, and I don't really need it.
That's because refs don't think it's going to sell and they don't put it out. But people like me who own 4 or 5 different referee tees, I own the referee AEW shirt, like the triangle with all 4 of them on it.
Oh, that's cool.
I like to support rereferees. I think.
Oh, that like rhombus thing that they do.
Yeah.
Like the ref rhombus, where
it's like all anime.
I think it's that.
And it's all like the anime versions of them. But
okay, yeah, that's an early one.
Yeah, I think more people would support referees if they put merch out. I think you should do it.
Okay, I'll think about it.
Yes.
But only because you said it.
Please stay tuned. Check out the look at ref merch is the best. There you go. We will see you guys. We will see you all next time on the ABJ podcast, episode 11, next Tuesday. I believe it's 7:00. Follow on social media just to make sure I'm not wrong. because I always mess up my times because I'm crazy and I don't remember anything. Once again, if you are watching this on Twitch, Twitter, or Facebook, head over to YouTube. Just hit a button, subscribe. It helps me out so much. And if you want to watch the rest of the episodes, maybe you're driving in your car and you don't want to have a phone playing with a video because it's distracting and you shouldn't do that. It's illegal. Go check out anywhere you listen to music or podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google. All of them are up above Gina's head. Check them all out and listen to the audio side of the podcast as well. We love you. Thank you so much. I would say have a great holiday. Actually, yes. I think by next interview, yes, enjoy your holiday. Whatever holiday you support or you're part of for this week, enjoy it. Have a great time. Stay safe. Do not drink and drive. And I will see you guys next week before the end of the new year with Nolan Pierce. See you guys all. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.